Alright, yes, hello and welcome. So today, what we're doing is we're doing a tier list of how good each F1 driver has had of a season in 2020. So we got bin, which is the worst category, which to chuck it in the bin, get rid of it. Average, self-explanatory, good, self-explanatory, great, self-explanatory, and unreal is just when you've had an absolute top season, like one of the greatest seasons anyone could imagine. So starting off with Giovinazzi, I want to put him an average. Like, he hasn't had a bad season by any means, but it's not been great. It's just been sort of, yeah, alright. It's kind of what you'd expect. Nothing excelling, but nothing terrible about it either. And I feel like Kimi as well hasn't had an average season. Sort of what you'd expect from the Alfa Romeos. Pierre Gasly goes into great. It's not quite unreal. A couple more podiums, it would be unreal. But he had a great season, did Gasly. I mean, the win was fantastic. What a race. I'm so annoyed I missed that race because I was in work during the whole pandemic. The few weeks I had, well, a few months I had to work and I missed that race. So annoyed about it. But you know what, it's fine. Fiat was average. Wasn't the greatest, wasn't the worst. Not the sort of season where he'll look back on it and realise that he just had a shit season and that's why he's not got a seat anymore. It's sort of season he'll look back on and be like, it was alright, but wasn't great. Charles Leclerc, he had a good season. I'm going to put Charles Leclerc in good. It wasn't the best, but you know what? He's in a Ferrari, which at the moment aren't the best cars, but for the car he had, he did really well. He did get a few bad results, and overall he had a good season. He had some really good results. Vettel, bin. Straight, he had a shocking season. This season he'll want to forget about. The 2020 season is one that Vettel will not want to remember. Romain Grosjean. Now, I am in a mind to put him up in Unreal simply for what happened in Bahrain. What happened after his, well, what happened with his crash, I want to put it in Unreal just because he's here, he's still alive, and he's still with us. So for that, Unreal, that he just managed to escape that. His results, I honestly kind of looked over the results after I saw him jump out of the flames, and that was all I really cared about. There's things more important than his results this season, and him escaping from that crash. For that alone, he deserves the Unreal spot. Magnussen, so for Magnussen, I'm going to put average. It wasn't quite bad enough to be bin worthy, but it wasn't good enough to put anything above average. It was just sort of, it happened, it was there. Lando Norris, difficult to choose between good and great because he had an impressive season, did Lando. McLaren had a phenomenal season, being P3 in Constructors, and for that I'm putting both McLaren drivers in great. They did really well. Lando and Carlos, to get P3 in Constructors in the McLaren was just great work. Valtteri Bottas. Now this is going to be an interesting one. You'd think I'll put him high up because of how many podiums he got and the few race wins he got, but I'm only going to put him in good because it's kind of what you would expect from Bottas that season. It was good because he got a good number of race wins and a very good number of podiums. It's just sort of, it was good, but not too much higher than you'd expect from him. You sort of expect him to be there. If he was to really have a great season or an Unreal season, he'd need to be taking a lot more race wins off Lewis. And talking of Lewis, Unreal. It was ridiculous. He was unstoppable this season. And I mean, most race wins of all time, 7 drivers' championships now. It's ridiculous. Like, he is such a skilled driver. Alex Albon, bin. His season was not good. He got some good results, but he just couldn't quite find the results he needed to be really pushing for wanting to be that second Red Bull driver, and now, of course, his seat was taken by Checo. Of all those seasons, I think it's not going to be something that he'll look back on and think the only reason he's not in an F1 seat for next season is because of this season he's just had. I think he's going to look back on it and think it was not a good season. Definitely not his best. Verstappen, good or great? I think I'm only going to put him in good because how many race wins did he get? Like 2? Yeah, with only 2 race wins to his name this season. For Verstappen, he's meant to be that one that's trying to push Hamilton off that top spot, push Mercedes off of that 1-2 lockout and get some race wins. And only getting 2, it's not great. It's still very good what he did. He did very well, and he had a good season. It wasn't great. It just wasn't quite on the level of great. Esteban Ocon. Ooh, I think just for the podium he got, he has to go up to good. Like, he was quite quiet all season, but then he got that podium, And you realise, like, I realised looking back at his season, he hasn't done bad really. He's done alright. But actually, you know what? It's going an average. The podium was great, but I can't feel like one podium's enough to push him up. Thing is with Ocon, like, he was getting a lot of like 9th place finishes and in that general area, which I think just slightly hinders him from having a good season. Had he been like 7th, like 6th, 7th consistently, rather than like 8th or 9th, or even sometimes out the points, then I'd have looked at him like, that was a good season. Daniel Ricardo, he did great. 5th in the Drivers' Championships was really solid from him, finishing only behind Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen and Checo. That's a very, very respectable effort from him. He did great. A really good season from him, so yeah, he's going in great. Checo, he really impressed me in that Racing Point. He was really pushing that Racing Point and often getting up with the likes of the McLarens, the Red Bulls, the Mercedes every now and then. He was really pushing that Racing Point up to where we know that it can be, because Racing Point are not a bad team. Obviously they're no longer called Racing Point, whatever. For 2020 they are Racing Point, and they're obviously a very good team, and the car was very good. But I feel like Checo really pushed that and really said, this is what this can be. And now they don't have him anymore, which I think is more Red Bull's win than anything. Red Bull have really done well getting Perez in, whereas I think Racing Point are either going to have Vettel be amazing and we're going to be like, okay, yeah, it was a good idea to get rid of Checo, or they're going to flop and they're going to be like, oof, we shouldn't have let Checo go. Lance Stroll. I'm going to put Lance Stroll in good. He impressed me this season, because I know like in recent years, like people have been looking at Lance Stroll as like, oh, he's just in the Racing Point because of his dad and he's not that good of a driver. He's just, you know, it's just, what's the damn word I'm thinking of? Nepotism. That was it. Everyone's thinking, oh, he's just in that seat because nepotism, his dad's, you know, owns a team and all that. But I think this season he proved that, you know what? He is actually worthy of that seat. He can race very well and he can be up there racing with the likes of the Ferraris and the Renaults. He's not quite on the level of Checo, who's up there with like the McLarens and Red Bulls. He's showing a lot of improvement. Latifi, Bin, you almost forget he drives an F1 at points. Latifi, you just don't hear anything about him. Like, I honestly don't remember seeing his car on any of the broadcasts of any of the races, other than maybe when he got a DNF at some point. Like, he had such a quiet season. It was just so forgettable, his season. George Russell. Great season for George. I know he didn't score any points other than his one race with Mercedes, but he was really pushing that Williams towards the points. He was getting so close so many times, and of course he had that one safety car crash, which it was heartbreaking to watch. And then obviously the Mercedes race where he was on track to win, and then, you know, the pit stop happened and he managed to come back and almost catch Checo. It just had to happen that he got a puncture, and it was heartbreaking. Really, George has had a great season. He's done really well in the Williams. He proved himself so well when he was driving the Mercedes. He was basically knocking on the door of Mercedes, turning his PowerPoint to Toto Wolff being like, here's why I should be a full-time Mercedes driver, and he made a bloody convincing argument of it. Anyway, that is all 20 drivers, so I seem to have favoured great the most, with 6 drivers being in great, and I stand by that. I've been only 3 with seasons to go in the bin, 5 in average, 4 in good, and then 2 in unreal. I think that's a good divide of how the drivers have done. But yeah, if you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell. My Twitter and Discord are in the description. If you want to see more things like this, drop a comment and let me know, and I will catch you later.
Waking up at 3, you never felt